Well, well, well. That one came out of left field, didn't it? Microsoft and Sony partnering up and getting all pally. Who'd have thought it? Well, it's not such a surprise as far as I'm concerned, because we've seen that Microsoft and Sony have been getting a little bit more pally lately, and Microsoft and Nintendo have been getting especially pally. But nobody, I don't think, was expecting to see Microsoft and Sony make a joint announcement about cloud gaming. That one definitely came out of left field. And it's even more of a surprise when we go back to some of the stories that were coming out last year. And there's one that caught my eye this morning by Robert Jones in T3 in September 2018, in which he said that Sony were fighting back against Microsoft's Xbox 2, and that the way they were doing that was that they would be working on a game-changing new update for PSN, or PlayStation Network. What he obviously didn't know at the time, and to be fair, none of us could have possibly known, was that this game-changing new update for PlayStation Network was going to come via Microsoft itself and their Azure network. And whether Sony and Microsoft were working together to hammer this out back then is anyone's guess. They could have been working on it, or they may well have been prompted into looking into making a partnership like this because of the rise of Google and their Stadia announcement earlier in the year. To be honest, I would imagine that both Sony and Microsoft already knew about Stadia and were already involved in setting plans in motion, but we really don't know. What we do know, though, is that the two companies will, and I quote, explore joint development of future cloud-based solutions in Microsoft Azure to support their respective game and content streaming services. In addition, the two companies will explore the use of current Microsoft Azure data center-based solutions for Sony's game and content streaming services. And then they go on to say, by working together, the companies aim to deliver more enhanced entertainment experiences for their worldwide customers. These efforts will also include building better development platforms for the content creator community. Obviously, the big question here, though, is why have Sony and Microsoft decided to partner up now? I mean, we've seen that they've been, superficially more friendly of late. But this goes well beyond doing a joint presentation at the Game Awards and shaking hands and being all pally and looking rather uncomfortable together, it has to be said. This is a much bigger deal. So, as I say, why? Why are they doing this now? What is in it for both companies? Well, before we go there, I think we have to have a careful look at what they've actually said. They've issued a joint memorandum of understanding. This is a joint venture at the beginning, it seems to me. So, we have to be a little bit careful taking this too far and getting too excited or too depressed about what this might lead to. But going back to what I said before about why they would be doing this now, I think it's pretty obvious. We've had Google's Stadia announcement this year. We've got Amazon, who seem to be working to move into the gaming marketplace. And there's any number of other companies who are looking to do this. The interesting one here, though, is when you start looking at the infrastructure. And there are three companies that stand out as having the major infrastructure capability to deliver games as a service or as a streaming platform. And those three companies are Google, Amazon, and Microsoft. They are by far the biggest companies offering data centers at the moment. And Sony, as far as I could tell by doing some research and looking into this, currently use AT&T to deliver PlayStation Now. Now, if you look at the figures, AT&T don't even come up on the graphs. They're tiny in comparison to the big three. And if you compare Microsoft and Google and Amazon, Amazon's Web Services, or AWS, is currently the largest. And they also have a background in providing media services. They host their own media streaming service with Prime Now, and they also host Netflix on their servers, along with their own music streaming service. So they've got a background in providing media. Gaming obviously is a slightly different area, but companies such as EA are already using AWS, so they have some experience in this area. And I don't know, but EA are looking into streaming, and it could be that they're looking to use AWS to host the service. Because let's be honest, companies like EA don't have that infrastructure, so they're going to have to rely on Amazon or Azure or Google. And at the moment, EA are using Amazon. So Amazon are a big player in this area, and they're only going to get bigger. So it makes sense for Sony to partner with somebody who can provide these kind of servers so they can get ahead of the game. AT&T, it would seem, can't cut it. They're just not big enough. They don't have enough data centers. And as for Microsoft, hosting a major player like Sony is a big deal. If you've got Sony, one of the biggest players currently in the gaming industry, to use your servers to host their service, then obviously that's more money for you, and it's a feather in your cap, and it helps you expand your service. And I've said for a long time now, Microsoft don't see Sony as a major competitor, not in the bigger picture. In the gaming world, yeah, they're a competitor, but it makes sense to partner with them when both companies can benefit. And in this instance, it looks like both companies can benefit. And as I say, it makes sense for both of them because they really do have to rise up to the challenge coming from Google and Amazon and others as well. There are others in the marketplace, and we've seen before that a small player can come to the fore. But it's more difficult for that to happen at the moment unless you've got a large infrastructure. And Microsoft do provide that large infrastructure. They are the second biggest provider of servers currently, mainly in business, but also in other areas. Amazon currently have the advantage in that area, and they've got more expertise in that area. But Microsoft, in gaming, Microsoft know what they're doing, and we've only got to look at Microsoft's network. Xbox Live is better than PlayStation Network, and currently Game Pass is better than PlayStation Now. And okay, I know that Game Pass, you download the games, but I think that was a smart move by Microsoft, and we all know that they are moving into the cloud with xCloud. And providing those services to Sony is going to give Sony a leg up. So both companies win, or at least both companies stand a chance of winning. They have to move, and I've been saying this about Microsoft for a long time now. You have to move forward. And a lot of gamers seem to be missing the point on this one. Things are changing in the gaming industry. Whether we like it or not, they are changing, and companies such as Microsoft and Sony need to move with the times. Otherwise, they are going to get left behind. And they know this. So it's a smart move for Microsoft, and it's a smart move for Sony. I have to wonder where the seeds of this began, though. Where did this all start? I mentioned earlier that this could have been as a result of Google and their Stadia project. But I do think that this probably started a long time before that, and I think Microsoft have probably been talking to Sony behind doors for some time now. These things don't happen overnight. They take a lot of hammering out. And I actually look back at the DDoS attacks that happened back in 2016. And I don't know if you guys remember, but back then Microsoft offered to help Sony get their service back online. And it was almost like an olive branch, and people were saying, well, why would Microsoft do that? Well, perhaps now's your answer. Maybe Microsoft could see that there was a business opportunity there. They're a big company. They don't do things out of the goodness of their heart. Well, not generally anyway. They do some good stuff. I mean, we've seen the adaptive controller and stuff like that. But, that's good marketing as well. There's always a business angle. and Microsoft partnering up with Sony now, it's good business, as I keep saying. But while it's interesting to speculate how this all began, it's also interesting to speculate as to where this will all end. And that is something that fascinates me. We've got Sony with a great load of games. We've got Microsoft with the infrastructure. Microsoft have got some good games as well, and Microsoft are already looking to get games on other platforms. They're looking to go into mobile phones. They've already got games coming onto the Switch, and we've speculated, quite a lot about what games may be coming from Microsoft onto the Switch. So maybe Microsoft may also be looking to get their games onto Sony platforms. So it's possible we could see a future where you've got Microsoft games on a Sony streaming service hosted on Azure servers. How crazy would that one be? But anyway, look, that's my thoughts on this. It's all kind of come out of left field. Certainly for us not being on the inside of this, it seems to have come out of nowhere. I think, as I said before, that these seeds were probably there some time ago, but I'm only speculating. Tell me what you guys think. I mean, do you think that this would have taken a while to hammer out? It's obviously still early days, but Microsoft and Sony wouldn't have announced this if they hadn't have hammered at least some details out between themselves. It's certainly interesting times we live in, though. And I can't wait to see what happens with this. But let me know what you think about it in the comments. And we'll have a chat about it as usual. And if you like this one, give it a thumbs up. If you don't, thumbs down, all the rest of it. But definitely come in, have a chat with me. Let's talk about this. And, tell me, are you excited for this? Are you worried about this? Because there are things to be worried about on this as well. If these companies get too cozy and too pally, does it, result in less competition? And that's a negative that may come out of this. But I do think, we've got new competition coming into the marketplace. So this is just a kind of restructuring of the marketplace to some degree. But as I say, let me know what you think about it in the comments. And I'm going to go and grab myself a cup of tea and think about this some more. And I will speak to you guys in the next one. Bye.